Good evening. It's wonderful to welcome you all. Again, my name is Katie Schmidt. I am the very proud assistant principal. I have been here since probably the building was built, so I'm sure I've had somebody in my history class in this audience at some point. But I'm really happy to welcome you here today. Real quick, I have a message from the nurse's office. If your student takes medication during the day, you must have a doctor's order specifically for that medication, and you must deliver it to the nurse's office yourself in the prescription, the original prescription bottle. Your student cannot bring their medicine. They cannot have any medication on their person at all. So please, if you need a medication, you have to have a doctor's order. The order needs to be specific, whether it's student can carry it, student can use it. Strange, I know, but just make sure that you have all that information for the nurses. Please remember to fill out that orange nurse form that's going to come home. Mrs. Carlson just talked about it. Very important that you have the person who can pick up your child actually will answer the phone and will actually come and get them, okay? Many times we've called and said, Billy doesn't feel good, and it's like, I don't have a car. Okay, so please make sure when you fill that out that your emergency contact is somebody who can come and get your student. If your child doesn't feel well during the day, they need to go to the nurse. Okay, please, if they text you, which they're not supposed to do, and say, I have a bellyache, okay, and then you call and dismiss them, your child will receive demerits. So please make sure that if your child doesn't feel well during the day, they go to the nurse's office and they have to be dismissed through the nurse. If your student says, I don't feel well, can I go to the nurse? Nobody's gonna say no, because nobody wants them to throw up on their floor. So trust me, they'll let them go, okay? The other thing is I am responsible for I am a 504 coordinator. I know Mrs. Zarazinski will go over it real quick, but if your student was on a 504 in middle school, we think we have them all from the middle schools. Sometimes we miss some. So they're still being worked on. They will be mailed to you, but your student's 504 is automatically in the computer. Their teachers can see them. So the first day of school, they'll be in there, even if you don't receive it in the mail yet. Please remember that we take them from middle school and we Monty-Tech them up. You know, we make them appropriate for high school. Some of you are going to get a call from me, or when we meet during the year, and I'm going to say, you know, this accommodation really isn't appropriate for high school. Many of the accommodations that your students had in middle school, we do all the time. That's our standard, that's our norm. So it's very different here than it is in middle school. And please, keep that in mind when you're hearing from us regarding your 504s. And again, we do, like Mrs. Carlson said, this is high school, so we're really encouraging your students to be young adults, to advocate for themselves. Like I said, things are very different than in middle school. We have a dress code, we expect them to wear their IDs, we expect them to behave in a certain way, and sometimes we're saying, oh, that's not what we do. So Mr. Peary is going to go over the student handbook with you a little bit, but please make sure that you familiarize yourself with it. It'll be online, and your student will get a copy, and he'll go over that as well. And I guess that's it. Oh, the only other thing is, just as he goes over dress code, you notice that we have air conditioning, so when your student tries to dress for the beach, we're going to say, nope, change your clothes. So don't come to school naked, because we got air conditioning. And you can't wear shorts and shop anyway. So there you go. All right, Mrs. Fabro, the academic director, Christy Fabro. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Monty-Tech. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about schedules and the placement testing. Remember long ago in May when you dropped off your student to take the placement test? Well, since then we've been working hard on building the master schedule and troubleshooting this week with guidance counselors to make sure, school counselors, to make sure that the schedules are ready to go. And just a reminder that the electives were chosen with Ms. Levy during the interview process. So if you're wondering how the electives got chosen. Just a reminder to you about that. And for those of you who have signed on through the parent portal, you'll be able to have early access to your schedule through the app. So that's a nice feature if you're not familiar with that. Some of the support programs that we offer include Title I. Title I might be familiar to you from your middle school. And the way we provide Title I services is just based on need. It has nothing to do with where you live or how much money you make. So based on performance on the MCAS in middle school and based on performance on placement testing and report card academic progress, we will assign what we call a writing lab or a math lab to your child's schedule. That just means they need a little bit of extra support in English or math in order to make sure they're able to meet the requirements of MCAS. Every single student is required to pass MCAS in order to graduate high school. Okay, so we put that on the schedule. It's a course with either a math teacher or an English teacher, licensed English and math teachers. And they'll usually take that class for 2 years, grade 9 and grade 10. And at the end, they'll take the MCAS, and then they'll move on to grade 11. So that's how you know that your child is in the Title I program. You'll also receive some emails and letters, parent letters from us, letting you know about our tutoring program. We offer a tutoring program that's provided by licensed teachers, our teachers here, after school for free. So we usually have 2 English, 2 math, 2 science, 1 or 2 days a week. So that's another opportunity for your students to get extra help. And then of course they can always see their English teacher after school at least once a week, but many of our teachers stay after more than 1 day a week. You just need to encourage your student to talk to their teacher to let them know that they want to stay after school. We also have an ESL program, an English language education program, where we have many students here who speak many different languages. Up to 9 or 10 different countries are represented through these students. And imagine coming to a school district where everything is new, but also you don't speak language, the English language as well. So those students not only have to face the same challenges as all the other kids, but they also are, on top of that, learning the English language is very challenging. And it's a huge accomplishment for them when they finally reach proficiency. So if you have a student who has been an EL learner, an English learner, and needs support, and you don't hear from us by October, then you should give us a call. But for those of you who do have English learners, you will be hearing from us. We will do a parent notification within 10 days of school, so you'll be notified that your child is in that program and what the services will be. We have an ESL teacher who will visit classrooms, who will work with the teachers to provide strategies, and who will also deliver direct language instruction to those students as well. Some of the other supports that we offer, the extra help days, the tutoring, we have 2-tier busing system. We also offer MCAS review camps. So during the fall, during the school year, as we approach the 10th grade year, when they're going to take MCAS, we will have a day where we have the science teacher, for example, will work with a team of teachers with a select group of kids who could use a little bit of support right before MCAS, and they play games and they have bingo and some other things where they relearn some of the vocabulary, freshen, get study prep right before the test. So that's something that we do offer as well. And the last thing that I have is just a little bit of advice. Being the parent of 2 students who graduated from Monty Tech, and I've worked here for 15 years, this is my 15th year. It is a wonderful place to work, a wonderful experience for my boys and for the kids who we see every single day. And I would say the biggest piece of advice that I could give you is to encourage them to communicate to their teachers, to get involved. I think sometimes as parents we're very eager to sort of step in and do things for them, encourage them to advocate for themselves. It's a huge skill for them here and in life. Welcome to Monty Tech. I hope you have a great year, and don't forget to do your summer reading. Thank you. So next is the Director of Student Support, Vicki Zarazinski.
Thank you. I did. Sorry. Hi guys, welcome to Monty Tech. Welcome future Bulldogs. And it's great to see. I know we saw a lot of you here for freshman admittance night last year. So some of this information is to refresh you as well. And some of you are here for the first time ever, so welcome. And then I feel like some of you have graduated and we're seeing your children. So that's fantastic as well. I think between Ms. Schmidt and I have been here, this is 20 years now. We've seen quite a few people come through, and it's tremendous to have you back, so welcome. I want to give you just some overview. If you take a look, we're coming from 18 cities and towns, as Ms. Carlson said, but to give you just what the demographics look like and what you're walking into. There are 1,426 students as of this morning, as I was reviewing my numbers, and 354 students, it's really 355 by tomorrow, freshmen in the class of 2028. So I know some of you are coming from large schools, some of you are coming from small schools, but that is what your freshman class, that's what your class here at Monty Tech looks like. With 18 cities and towns, this year, sending districts and between online, charter schools, all the educational programs, we saw 55 sending school settings. So that placement testing that we talk about, what algebra looked like in one district, completely different than another district. When you're looking at 55 different districts, I know that day of coming in and testing felt horrible. I won't say horrible, I mean, kids were horrible, but that's why. We want to make sure we have you placed in the right spot day one. There are 90 days of academics, 90 days of vocational programming in one school year. Freshmen, do you know where you're starting, academics or vocational? You got it, so you already passed. Do you guys know what time school starts? Oh, thank God you guys came. You got it. For parents that didn't hear that, the school day is 7:40 to 2:40. And then if they're playing sports, or they're participating in a club, or they're getting help, we do offer late help. And we do have sports with no activity fees. We have clubs with no activity fees. We want to see you get involved. And we are starting the school year running late buses 3 days a week. And I'll get into that in a minute. But we do want to see, this is your school year. We want to see you guys participate. My job is the Director of Student Support Services, and I get asked a million times, what does that mean? This is what it is. Guidance and special ed, and really any support service that's going to help students. So I have a staff of about 30 people, school counselors, social workers, adjustment counselors, special education teachers, paras, speech and language pathologists. I contract out for services we need, and I partner with local agencies to provide services that are going to help our students address the needs that you guys are coming in with. What do you need to meet success? So some of the things we do throughout the year are 4 years that you'll be here. We handle everything from enrollment, reviewing schedules, vocational placement, social emotional learning, career, college pathways, everything you'll need to get ready for college, specialized services, our community-based services, and more. We really take a look at every group and wrap students up with services. We balance what you need to make sure that you're young adults ready to go out in the workforce or head to college. That's our job. So how do we structure it? Every school is different, so this is important for you guys to know. Your freshman year, you guys met guidance counselors in your last couple of days, but for parents, we have 2 freshman guidance counselors. They are assigned by your student's last name, or your last name, student's last name. However, they both work in tandem. Their offices are very close together. and we will step in and help whenever. So if one counselor is not readily available, we did this on purpose, so we have 2 people that know that job. We will also, as we go through the vocational placement process and scheduling, be working through all those transitions in tandem. Grades 10, 11, and 12, when students are assigned to shops, their guidance counselor will shift in grade 10, and it will be assigned by the vocational program that the student is in, that your student's enrolled in. The best way to contact the counselor is via email. If we're in our office, we're generally in a meeting, and we don't want to disrupt the meeting to take a phone call. If you email us, we can either schedule a meeting or call in between meetings so that any confidential information can be shared in that confidential setting. Ms. Schmidt is our assistant principal, 504 coordinator. She will be meeting with you to do the 504 plans. School counselors are your main point of contact for 504 plans, for any accommodation plan. As we said, I think we have the majority coming in. A lot of middle schools don't have staff that work over the summer, so we're seeing 504 plans come in the past week now, so we'll be getting them into our system. If you think that we don't have a plan, and this goes for special ed too, we cannot act on information we don't have, so please provide us information. If you have a plan, you haven't heard from us, send it in. It's better to give us duplicate information so we can get started than assume that we have something that we have no idea about. So please pass those along. Special education plans. Mr. Vazikas, our team chairperson, and myself met with a lot of parents at the end of last year. I think we have all of them. We did about 56 meetings. If you have not met with one of us and your child's on an IEP, please send in the plan so we can schedule a team meeting. We have assigned a contact person for every IEP. We have draft IEPs out. Some of you have signed them, some of you haven't. If you have not had the opportunity to review a plan, please take a look at it, give us a call with questions, sign it and return it. We're really working hard to have services up and running day 1, as I said, with 90 days of academics. I want to get started right away and get kids support right away. Counseling services. Students receive college and career counseling services through a platform called SCOIR, S-C-O-I-R. If you'll be getting some information throughout, but if you hear that, I want you to be able to know that. And freshmen take an interest in mentoring before selecting their vocational program. We'll talk a lot about the exploratory process, but we want to make sure with such a short amount of time that students think about not only what they're interested in, but what that means post-graduation. When you look at 90 days a year, that's 360 days before your students will graduate. 360 in the vocational program will lead them into a career pathway. That's pretty quick. So we want to make sure that we're really starting that guidance side of things pretty early and guiding them with what their interests are. We do have some community partnerships and things that I want to make sure that you're aware of. On our website, one of the biggest things is really the mental health and social emotional learning side of things. We do partner with an agency called Care Solace. They're care coordinators. And here's what they do. If you find a speed bump or pothole the time you need to access counseling or crisis care, there is a link on our website that you put in a little bit of information. It's really your name, what you're looking for, and what type of insurance you have. And they'll put you in contact with somebody not from Monty Tech, they're a care coordinator, that will call the counselors, that will set up your first appointment, that will follow up with you after and save you hours of calling and seeing if an agency takes your insurance, if they're accepting new patients, if they can work with your schedule. Those are called care coordinators. We pay for this. We pay contract with the company to do it, They do all the heavy lifting for you. If you're finding that you're at a time of crisis or your family needs some support and help, it is often difficult to make those phone calls. I want you to know that service exists, and I would like you to use it. We do not get information from the agency. It's just a way for you to access help, where I know wait lists have been up to 6 months long to get an appointment, and that's not okay when we're talking about the time and pacing that we have. So please know that exists. Our luck partnerships are also there. I know I'm getting I'm taking too long, but these are important things for you to know. All right, buses, the bus lists are out. Yes, the lot is 1 mile from your house. We took the information you provided, the address you put on your application. If you have moved, we do need to know that. The bus companies are working off that address. Please give us the updated address. The other thing to know, we provide late buses. At the beginning of the year, we're going to monitor how many people use those. With 0 activity fees, we want to make sure buses are being accessed. If we need to limit the number of buses and routes that we're sending, we are going to be looking at that. So please make sure, if your student's using the late bus, that they're signing up in the office, that we can monitor that. Outside counseling appointments during the school day, we honestly just don't have the space to allow that to happen. I don't have confidential space, and some of us are doubled up in our offices and really working on that. So if it's a crisis, please let us know. We'll make an exception for a couple of appointments, but please know that's not a practice that Monty Tech can honestly support throughout the day. Please email us with questions. And is that there? A friendly reminder, we sent out, if you're non-custodial, legally separated, we sent out forms for second parents, non-custodial custody situations. It's a new school district. We do need these forms. We do need them annually. We sent them out July 1 with a August 1st date. We have not received a lot of them back, which means if somebody goes to call, if you're a second parent, if you're a non-custodial parent, and we haven't received that, we cannot give any information without that form. I'm going to leave some extras up here so you could get them. Please fill them out. With no information, that also means you're not dismissing, you won't have permission, you won't have any authority within our building without that form. So please get that back. All right, we're a full inclusion school. That means everybody has equal access. We're super proud about that fact, but I know there are a lot of misnomers out there, so I want to make sure people knew that. And we're here to help, so please reach out if you need us. Thank you. I'm going to pass this over to Alicia Quinn. John Lashley is also a freshman guidance counselor. He is in a wedding tonight, so you get the fabulous Alicia Quinn.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia Quinn, and I can honestly say that I have the best job in building because I get to work with all the incoming 9th graders. So there's a couple things before I get to my presentation that I just want to address. This is just gave me a sticky note. Today, or yesterday, at orientation, every student was handed a folder. Okay, please look through that folder with your student. There's really important information in there, and we just want to make sure we're all on the same page. There's late bus information, there's my email, Mr. Lashley's email, and there's also exploratory dates, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit more. But just to kind of touch on something that Mrs. Arasinski talked about, is at Monty Tech, we have an A week and a B week. Okay, so freshmen, if we say A week, that means you are going into your academic week. And when we say B week, that means they're going to be an exploratory, or when they finally get placed in their shop, that would be their shop week. Usually, it is every other week. Coming into school this year, freshmen are lucky enough to have 2 weeks of academics, okay? So you will get in academics. Teachers will tell you what you need for school supplies. Do not stress this weekend going out and buying a ton of stuff. Wait till you get that teacher syllabus, then you can go out and then you can see what the teacher needs. Okay, so don't worry about that. So you have 2 weeks of academics, and then what happens is we will have 5 days of what's called pre-exploratory. And this is the stuff I'm going to focus on tonight because this is one of the main reasons you guys are at a vocational school is to be able to see all of our 21 awesome trades and shops. Okay, so here we are. So how pre-exploratory works. So during that week, you guys will see all those shops. Students will get a schedule before pre-exploratory. You will be broken up alphabetically in groups, and you will rotate that week with that same group of students, okay? So nobody's ever in the hallway by themselves. You're rotating from shop to shop. A couple of those days, because we're doing 5 days this year, you will be meeting in the auditorium, and one day, on Friday, we'll kind of be having an ice cream celebration and just wrapping up the week, okay? So we're gonna go through there, don't worry, you eat lunch with the shops during that week because bouncing back to when I say a week, when you're in academics, freshmen all eat together. You guys have 10:39 lunch, you're with a whole cafeteria of freshmen. But when you're in shop week, your lunch will depend on what shop you're in. If for some reason you lose that pre-exploratory schedule, do not stress, you just come in the office on Monday during that first B week and we will hand you a new schedule, okay? We'll have all the groups where you're supposed to go, don't worry about that. All right. Okay, so this is an example of what a pre-exploratory schedule will look like. Okay, so Monday, every freshman, we're gonna meet in this auditorium, we're gonna go through how the week will work, and then depending on what group you're in, will depend on where you go. But this student, for example, would go to Autobody, Autotech, cabinet making, house car, so they're gonna rotate. Okay, so by the end of the week, like I said, you have seen all 21, and we're hoping by the end of the week, you'll have a better idea about what you would like to explore. Okay, can you hit that? Yeah. So at the end of pre-exploratory, what's going to happen is we are going to send out a Google, oh, that's not, okay, never mind, okay. Okay, so at the end of the week, we are going to send out a Google form, and on that Google form we'll have all the shops. You are going to pick 12 of those shops that you would be interested in exploring, okay? We only guarantee your top 3 to explore. So when you are filling out that Google form over the weekend, make sure you're really thinking, oh, is plumbing what I want to do for number 1, okay? Or is Autobody what I want to do for number 2? Those 3 shops we will guarantee. Now there's only 9 weeks of exploratory, so that 12 is just kind of a buffer to make sure we're getting you in something that you like. So Friday, September 13th, students will have access to that form. They'll fill it over the weekend. It will stay open until Sunday night at 8 p.m., September 15th. Come Monday morning, Mr. Lasher and I will start going through all the data, and then we will start scheduling you. If you do not submit your form by Sunday, September 15th at 8, what will happen is we cannot guarantee if you will get your top 3 choices like you would like to. Then you will find out where you're going for your first week of exploratory on Friday, September 20th. And I'm gonna we will send out this or put it on the website. We'll make sure these dates keep going out so you guys know, okay? And Mr. Lasher and I, the first couple weeks of school, we see the students multiple different times, and so we're gonna keep talking about this so everybody will know. And that's part of the reason why that Friday, after they've seen all their shops, we're meeting with them again just to review how to do this. So we're gonna keep the communication going. When you get your exploratory schedule, because you will be able to see it in Power School, you most likely will only be able to see that first semester, but just so you know, you can always try to ask us if something could change, but there's 355 students in the freshman class, so it's really hard to change where you're going, because some shops, I'm going to put up shop numbers in a second, but some shops only have limited spots. So Autobody, for example, has 18 students in there. If a lot of students really wanted Autobody, and it wasn't in your top 3, you might not get it. So really think about what you would like to do. Okay, so now we went through pre-exploratory, you have your first day in shop. what happens, how do you get graded? That's what we want to go through, because you do get graded for that week in exploratory. So on the first day of exploratory, every student will get a rubric and from their instructors, and it'll be explained how you're graded. Every shop uses the same rubric, so you don't have to worry about one shop grading differently. They're all equal with that. Also on the first day of shop, every student will get a pair of safety glasses, okay? You get one pair of safety glasses. If you lose them, I think we sell them for about $5, but come to my office and see what can I do, because if you show up to shop without safety glasses, then you're not prepared and you will get points off. Also, going back to what Miss Delaney said in the folder, in that folder, there is a shop dress code. Each shop is on there. You cannot show up to shops in shorts. You cannot show up to shops with open-toed shoes. If you come to school and you're in shorts or open-toed shoes for a shop, you will be sent to the guidance office and you will wait there until a parent or guardian can come and bring you appropriate clothing. If that happens, you will also lose points because you are not prepared for shop. Okay, so make sure you are reading what the dress code is. If you come in long pants, jeans, and a t-shirt with closed-toed shoes for exploratory, you're gonna be fine. You do not need to go out and buy work boots yet, we're not there, okay? So just know for exploratory, it's really important that you're showing up and you're getting graded. Okay, so before we get into how placement works, I just want to give an example about, here are the shop numbers, this is what I need. Like advanced manufacturing only takes 16 kids, engineering takes 16 kids, so just, these are hard numbers, okay? So just know there's reasons, there's safety stuff, there's reasons why the numbers are the way they are. Okay, so now the fun stuff. So we get through 9 weeks of exploratory. Everybody's getting excited, and students at this point, they are ready to be in shop. So how does that work? What happens is we will send a form home, okay? And then we will also give one to a student. And you guys will list 1 through 6 it will have all 9 weeks of what the student explored, it will have their grades that they earned, and you will then pick 1 through 6. 1 being the shop that they really would love to be placed in, to 6 being one they wouldn't mind being placed in. Okay, so students, the number of choice grades, okay, so students will be placed in the first choice program provided there is space and that the student receives a passing grade of 60 or more. If you go through a shop and you do not receive a passing grade of 60 or more, you cannot pick that shop as one of your placements. If the number of students selected in programs their first choice exceeds the spaces available, the student with the highest grade in that specific shop will get placed first. So, what happens if we have, I'm picking on plumbing because our plumbing instructor's in here, but plumbing, we have 1 spot left and we have 2 kids with a 97. Who gets that spot? We then look at the overall average of the 9 weeks, and the student with that highest average overall the 9 weeks will be placed before the other student. Okay, I'm gonna explain that a little bit more, but that's... So, after we get through first choice shops, everybody who was unfortunately not placed in their first choice, we move on to choices 2 through 6. So students will do the same thing. They've numbered, and we're gonna go down the same way and then place those students. Okay, so these examples I think are going to help. So Katie and Diana both have electrical as their first choice for shop placement. Katie scored a 93 and Diana scored a 90. Who will be placed in electrical first? Katie will be placed first because she scored higher in electrical, okay? Despite the fact that they both picked electrical as number 1. Okay, example number 2. Dave has picked CAD as his second choice and scored a 99. Caitlin has picked CAD as her first choice and has scored an 89. Who will be placed in CAD? Dave. Yes. Dave will be because it was his second choice. So it goes by choice and by score, okay? Does that make sense? Choice and score. It doesn't matter if you're second choice and you received 100, you're not gonna bump somebody who's first choice in All right, one more example. Okay, Vicky and Brian both have ranked culinary as their first choice and each have scored a 91. There's only one seat left in culinary. Vicky's 9-week exploratory average is a 94.3, and Brian's is a 94.1. Who will be placed in the culinary? Yes, Vicky will. Good job. All right. So here's some questions that we get every year. So I'm hoping these will answer some of your questions. So will I really end up in my 6th choice? Yes, it does happen. Okay? What happens if I'm not placed in choices 1 through 6? Unfortunately, that can sometimes happen. It's very small, but if that were to happen to a student, we would call them down, and they would choose a shop that still have openings. They would automatically go on a wait list, and we would work with them. Most of the time, everybody ends up happy. We tell students, and I'm going to tell you guys, if you are devastated because you did not get into your first choice shop, give us a little bit of time. We work really, really hard to make sure everybody ends up where they want to be. And sometimes kids think they really want auto tech, and they get in there and they're like, never mind. And then they move, and then all of a sudden, you're right in there, okay? So don't worry, it happens. Sometimes we just need to give it a little bit of time, but usually everybody ends up where they would like to be. Okay. So we talked about the wait list. Do academic grades impact vocational placement? No, they do not. Okay, it's totally separate. You should be doing really well academically. You should try your hardest, but it does not impact where you get placed. What do I do if I miss a week of exploratory? If you miss a week of exploratory due to an illness, what we will try to do if it's one of your top 3 is have you explore that again. We'll move something around. But if you miss a week of exploratory because you're going on vacation, what that means is you won't get graded. But then when it comes to picking, you won't be able to pick that shop because you did not receive a grade. Can I do vocational work remotely while out of school? No, you can't, because we can't replicate the vocational experience with you doing stuff from home, okay? And can I choose a shop I did not explore as one of my 9 exploratories? No, you cannot. You have to have explored a shop and earned a grade. If you're not happy about your exploratory grade, what do? You come talk to Mr. Lasher and I, and we're going to encourage you to reach out to the teacher and have a conversation, because sometimes what you think happened might be different than what the teacher think happened, so it's not a bad idea to communicate with that exploratory teacher. Now, if you explored shop that first week and you are not happy, but you waited until the 9th week to talk to the teacher about it, you should not do that, because that vocational teacher has had a ton of students. So as soon as you get your grade, if you are not happy with it, talk to that teacher that very next week. That way it's fresh in their mind, okay? That's the advice that we're going to give you. And can you try again? So if you go through a shop and you get a grade that you do not like or not happy with, no, you cannot try again. You can only explore that shop once, okay? And when can I change my shop once I'm placed? Like I said, movement does happen, but we're going to encourage you guys to stick it out for the first couple of weeks, and then we'll start to move. And I think that's it. Questions? Anybody? Okay. No questions. I just want to end with this. Schedules. I know everybody got their scheduled orientations, but if you have questions or concerns, please reach out to John and I. We might not get back to you right away tomorrow, but by Monday or Tuesday, we will get back to you. So just please, all students at Chromebooks, type us in and send us an email, and we will help you with your schedule. But now I'm going to introduce Dave Perry, who is the Dean of Students for the 9th grade.
Hi, good evening, folks. Dave Perry. Alicia, I'm pretty disappointed I didn't get into CAD, but I'll try harder next time. So yes, David Perry, Dean of Students for grade 9, graduation year 2028. I will be your dean for the 4 years that you're here at Monty Tech. So I will follow you through the 4 years. Again, this year I'm freshmen and juniors. Next year I'll be sophomores and seniors. Caitlin Shattuck is our other dean, and she has sophomores and seniors. I've been here, I think I'm going on my 13th year. I started in student support services, and then I moved my way over to the dean's office. So I'm very familiar with Monty Tech and how the building works and how it runs. The dean's office handles discipline and attendance, okay? Oftentimes, when a student gets called down in the dean's office, they start sweating, they get nervous, what did I do, am I in trouble? I want to try to dispel the notion that the dean's office is just all 100% discipline, okay? We do a lot of support, and we do a lot of work with students, behind the scenes to make sure that the experience they have here at school is a positive one. We help students manage peer difficulties, peer conflicts, things like that. I would encourage the students to come see us, please. Don't wait. Don't be like, oh, this has been going on for 3 months and now I want to bring it up. If there's an issue or you're struggling with something, please come and talk to us, okay? We're very approachable. Like I said, I've been working with kids and families for a long time. So we really are working hard to try to build a rapport with all of the students. So again, in the dean's office, I don't know if you want, you can take a picture of that because you're probably going to need some of those numbers, and I'll explain to you why in a minute. So it's myself, Mrs. Shattuck. Anthony Cicino is our in-house director. He manages that space, and he's also our varsity football coach. So those of you playing football will know him. We do have a school resource officer here, Officer Jeff Hurley. He is from the Fitchburg Police Department, and he is housed in the dean's office, okay? If you have any questions or anything you need to speak to him about, his extension is there, okay? Angie Mokes is our dean's office secretary. She handles most of our phone calls that come in, whether it be for attendance issues, bus passes, things like that. And Jessica Sean, she is our attendance secretary, so oftentimes when you are dialing that number, if you're calling a student in late or absent, her extension is 5248, or you can dial the main number and push number 1, okay? Okay, the forms. The forms are very, very important, okay? We need these forms back by Friday the 13th. Students, again, these are your responsibilities, okay? So please make sure that you're bringing them home and you're asking your parents to fill them out and that you need to get them back, okay? Every year we do chase students down for these forms, but the forms are important. You'll be getting a handbook. The handbook is our sort of guidebook. It's a thing we fall back on all the time to explain why we're making the decisions we do. Anyways, I can see the monitor here. Oh, okay, there we go. The student information sheet, again, is telling you where these forms are going. All right, the student emergency and health record, that one is very, very important, okay? Because that one is going to allow a student to get Tylenol, to get Tums, to get Benadryl, things like that. If that form is not in, the nurse cannot provide any of those kind of things, okay? And like Mrs. Carlson said, please make sure you get in all those free reduced lunch guidance forms. Those athletic forms are important as well. We have a lot of tryouts right now. We're doing great with technology tonight. All right, so the next picture you can't see right now is the student handbook acknowledgement form, okay? Every student will get a handbook. I would encourage you to read it. There's a lot of things in there, but go through it and see what interests you, okay? And get familiar with it, because we're gonna refer to that handbook all the time, okay? That there's gonna be a brightly colored sheet in the front of that handbook, okay? And that is what you need to sign, and your parents need to sign it, and you need to have it returned to us, okay? Because that acknowledges that you've received the handbook and that you've hopefully taken a look at it. All right, procedures. Again, the dean's office handles discipline and attendance, okay? You are required to call your student in, okay? Again, the main number was on the screen. Hopefully we'll get it back up there, but it's 978-345-9200. You can press number 1 to reach the attendance secretary. That's Jessica Shans, okay? And you will need to report your student. Now, if you don't call and report your student absent, you will get a phone call probably around 9:30 saying, your student's not here today. Late students, if you're late to school, you have to report to the dean's office. Like we said, day starts at 7:40, okay? So got to be in class and ready to go for 7:40. If you come in late, okay, that is a tardy. Depending on how late you are, depends on how many demerits you can receive, okay? Now, if it's an excused tardy, then that's different, and there are no demerits assigned to that, okay? Dismissals, especially, as well. Typically, what we need is, we would try to encourage you to have your student bring a note into the dean's office, okay? And that will allow us to give them a dismissal slip, okay? And when they have that slip at the dismissal time, they'll present it to their teacher and then they can head out, okay? Again, those dismissals will require a professional note to be excused, okay? Like a doctor, a dentist, a counselor, something like that, okay? And typically we need those notes within 5 days, okay? Again, back to the late school thing. Again, so if you're late to school, you're gonna come to the dean's office, okay? You're gonna scan in and you're gonna get a pass, all right? And then you're gonna bring that pass to your teacher, okay? You can't just come in late and go right to class because the teacher's gonna be like, where's your pass? Where have you been? So, and again, freshmen, we will have a class meeting, so we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about all of this kind of stuff. Bus passes, okay? The dean's office handles bus passes as well, okay? You're only allowed to ride your bus and get off and on at your stop, okay? Unless you have a bus note, okay? So again, I'm trying to tell you guys to bring notes in, okay? It's easier than trying to leave messages, because we can't always get to those messages all the time and very quickly. So if you bring a note in that says, Johnny would like to ride bus 12 today with his friend Emily, his friend Emily. So then we'll provide them with a bus pass, and they will provide it to the bus driver. If they do not have a bus pass, the driver will not let them on that bus, okay? Even if you are on your bus, it's your regular bus, and you want to get off at a different stop, you still need a bus pass, okay?
If you are a two-family household, household, you know, mom one day, dad one day, please give us what's called a permanent note, a permanent bus pass note. So, because you're assigned to one stop. So you just write a note to Mrs. Smokes, the dean's office, that says, Mary needs to go to, Dad's house, and this is the bus, and then we just write a permanent pass, and then the child can go back and forth. You can just do that the first day, email it to us, send it in, and then we put it on a list, and you only have to do it once, and it just as needed, right? Or if the child has a counselor or something like that, it's called a permanent bus pass. You just write us an email that says, my child needs to be able to go here on this bus as needed, okay?
One more quick thing on the buses. We do offer some transportation to the mountain during the winter months for students that want to ski or snowboard. It is very limited, so it's a first come, first served basis. But again, we'll remind you students about that in the winter. Again, like Mrs. Schmidt said, any sick students, you've got to get through the nurse's office, okay? If you go to the nurse and say you're sick and they send you home, that will be an excused dismissal, okay? As a dean, freshmen, you will see me in the building a lot. You'll see me walking through your shops, you'll see me in the lunchroom, you'll see me walking through the halls at passing time, okay? And we're just, making sure that everyone's where they need to be and doing what they need to do, okay? You have 4 minutes of passing time between classes. Depending on where your building is, where your classes are, it can be a little tight if you're going from the gym all the way over to the science classes, but, 4 minutes should be plenty of time for you to get to where you're going, okay? So be where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to do, okay? All right, attendance policy. This one always can be a little tricky. We have a pretty strict attendance policy here at Monty Tech, okay? As a freshman, you are only allowed to have 8 unexcused absences on A week and B week, okay? So it's going to be 8 and 8. If you hit 9, 10, 11, we're going to require no at the end of the year, you're above that. You could potentially lose credit for the year. We would have what's called an attendance review hearing, okay? Attendance here at Monty Tech is extremely important. I cannot stress that enough. Because you know we're a vocational school, we still do 180 days worth of school. So we're doing 90 days of academics, okay? But we're doing twice the work. So if you've missed 2 days of academics, it's almost like you've missed almost a whole week, okay? So please, please, please make sure that you're here daily and on time. You'll be getting notifications from the dean's office, whether it's an accumulation of demerits or whether it's an accumulation of tardies or absences, okay? Again, we do need professional notes for those. I know sometimes it can be a struggle. I've talked to many parents through the years. They say, oh, my kid has a stomach ache and I wasn't gonna bring him to the doctor. That's why you do have that buffer of 8 unexcused on each week, okay? But oftentimes those doctor's offices, if you call them, some of them will provide you a note, even if the child is not seen. But again, that's office by office. All right, the discipline part, all right? We do not allow hats, hoods, or head coverings of any kind in the building, okay? And part of that's for security reasons, okay? We need to be able to identify you and see who you are. IDs are very important, okay? These need to be worn at all times. That's another way for us to identify you, okay? These will also allow you to get in and out of the building, okay? If you're in vet science on an exploratory and you're gonna come back into the building, you're gonna scan this to get in. You're gonna need this in the lunchroom as well, okay? To scan in to get your lunch. So please, 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 you're gonna hear us all the first week of school, hey, where's your ID? Where's your ID? Make sure your IDs are on, things like that, okay? Cell phones, speakers, headphones, no electronic devices allowed after 7:35, please. I know, you know, we're in a society where everyone's attached to their phone, but you know, we really do want to limit the electronics as best as we can. Creates a lot of issues for the dean's offices. All right, again, late for classes. Like I said, you have 4 minutes passing time. I don't need to read all that to you, but you can kind of see where things work. We do have a demerit system, which I'll explain to you in just a second. And then, that was a big one, F, okay? If you cannot walk in here with a Dunkin' Donuts cup, okay? Because I've probably seen about 45 cups hit the ground last year, and it just makes a huge mess. So what you need is just grab one of those sealable cups, and we will leave you alone, okay? Like a Yeti or a Stanley cup or something like that, okay? Something with a sealed cover, okay? Dress code, okay? This is an important one. Not to go too far into it because I know you guys can read, but students, if you ask yourself, if you're asking yourself, is this appropriate for school? Probably not, right? We don't want anything that's too revealing, no spaghetti straps, no, beer shirts, drug shirts, nothing like that, okay? So please, no profanity, things like that. So please familiarize yourself with this dress code because there's a very good chance at some point we may have a conversation with you, okay? We try to keep it discreet and usually give some warnings in the beginning, but if it's a continued issue, then we'll start issuing demerits.
So for shorts, I know they don't sell grandma shorts in stores right now, but like I said, we don't need shorts because it's air conditioned. Put your hand down. If the middle finger, that's how long your shorts have to be. Okay, now I know you're all going, those are too long. Well, that's the way it is. So put your arm down, not like this, but like this. Your middle finger, that's as long as your shorts need to be. That's a rule of thumb. No midriffs at all. I know everything is cropped nowadays. You don't want to see me walking around in a crop top, so a full shirt, please. Otherwise, we'll make Mr. Zibble wear one.
All right, progressive discipline, okay? Essentially, we have a demerit system, okay? The demerit system, the things that you can get a demerit for, late to school, unexcused dismissal, late to class, minor misconduct in class, things like that, just the minor things. And the demerits, they can accrue, okay? When we get to the next slide, you'll kind of see where they're at. Well, here they are now. If you earn 8 demerits, okay, you get a letter home, it will have your disciplinary record on it as to why you earned those 8 demerits, okay? 15 demerits, you're going to earn a 1-hour detention in the dean's office, okay? 20 demerits is a 3-hour detention. Those are painful, guys, okay, so you don't want those ones. And then 25 demerits or more, now we're talking about in-house suspension, okay? And as you can see, it just gets progressively more difficult. So, demerits, again, those are just for the minor things. But, you know, one thing I do want to talk about, especially with the dean's office, is your shop safety, okay? We do not tolerate any shenanigans or any silliness in shop, okay? We have a lot of equipment in these shops that can do some significant damage and really, really, really hurt someone, okay? So pushing, shoving, throwing things in shop, that is usually going to result in an in-house suspension for a few days. So again, I'm trying to end on a positive note, but it's hard when you're the dean. But like I said, you know, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you guys. I like to consider myself as someone who's open-minded, fair, but firm, okay? We do not tolerate, you know, any kind of safety issues in our shop environments. And that's about it. So again, you know, you may hear from me throughout the year. If I'm calling, it doesn't always mean your kid's in trouble. You know, oftentimes, if someone's having a bad day or a bad week, I'll call home and just say, hey, you know, your kid was a little off this week. I don't know what's going on, but, you know, I do like open communication. So if you ever have any questions or concerns, or you're worried about anything, please reach out, okay? And I will give Mrs. Carlson the mic for some closing statements.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. And guys, thank you to all our wonderful administrators here and also Ms. Quinn. Guys, I know that we kind of threw a ton of stuff at you, but there's always like, we want parents to know this stuff. Again, student handbook, and call, ask questions, okay? We're an email away, okay? Students, parents, if you're wondering something, again, follow up with us. Remember, we have the second parent forms. If you haven't filled that out, if you need a copy, we have it up here. We do allow time if you want, well, the building will be open for another like half hour. If you wanted to roam, if you want to take your family members to just kind of go through your schedule, feel free to do that. We're here. If you have any questions, feel free to come up and ask in the victory. That way we won't hold anybody back. And again, thank you for spending the evening. I know this is a lot. Our apologies, but again, we feel this is important information we to have. Thank you. Also, parents, Spanish speakers, hablo español, I speak Spanish. Por favor, si necesitan hablar con alguien en español, me vienen a hablar, okay? I don't ever want a parent not to reach out to us because they can't communicate with us, so call us. All right, thank you so much. Have a great night. Those welcome home packets that I mentioned today in my call, those are in the mail. You'll have some paperwork.